This is day 11 of my Black History Month vlog series titled The Unprotected Black Woman. Black women have been portrayed as being strong and independent when in truth, many of us are still suffering the effects of the enslavement of our ancestors and haven't recovered from the psychological trauma our ancestors endured. Many black women have been left unprotected to fend for themselves and to raise their children alone due to our men seeking other women through social engineering. Ancestral trauma is a real thing and is passed down from one generation to the next through our DNA. The good thing is, just as it's possible to be passed down trauma, we're also passed down positive things such as the genius gene, which is the topic of a later vlog. Today's vlog is about how and why the black woman has been left unprotected by getting to the root cause of this issue in order to begin to heal our relationships, including the relationship we have with ourselves. When we heal, we're also healing our ancestors and future generations. So where did this strong black woman image come from? I already explained in day 8 of this vlog series how European men sought to break down the psyche of the black woman because they saw that she was the core of the family and the family was the core of the community. So in order to break down the whole community, they started by breaking down the psyche of the African woman. In year 2 of my novel Journey of a Sister, I shared through a beautiful story how enslaved African women were forced to raise their boy children to be mentally weak but physically strong, and their girl children to be mentally strong and independent of their men. Young black boys were given to little white girls as pets on leashes. I think it was in the film Birth of a Nation where they showed a little white girl running through a field with a little black boy on a leash. Today, many black men are on invisible leashes to white women and have left their own women unprotected. Many of us who are the descendants of enslaved Africans still carry this ancestral trauma in our DNA. I remember before my awakening thinking, why do we still keep bringing up slavery? What's that got to do with us today? However, in 2010, I watched the film Sankofa, and for the first time I saw how I was still being affected by the trauma my ancestors suffered, and not just me, but my whole community. I cried and cried while watching the film and cried out, what can I do to help my people heal? At the time, I had a small home studio. The following morning, I was led to record my poem song, We Belong Together. I recorded it first, channeled it, then wrote it.
Yeah, I know sometimes I don't treat you right. And I bet you wonder what happened to me, why I seem so uptight and angry. And all I want to seem to do is fuss and fight, and not give you the right to take your place as king upon your throne in our home. But sometimes I can't seem to help the way I feel. It's like something that's been passed down to me through my bloodline, and I need you to help me heal.
I'll put the link to listen to the full poem song in the description. Shortly after, I was led to start writing the first edition of my novel. 46,000 words were channeled, meaning they came through me rather than from me. In the past, I have suffered spiritual, psychic, and technological attacks to prevent me from getting my message out. In 2016, I was lured into the garden at 4 o'clock in the morning by my ex, a government agent, and was zapped by covert technology which shut down my third eye and locked me into this 3D matrix. Prior to this tech attack, I was able to travel into the spiritual realm naturally. I'll put a link in the description for you to begin your own research into how our governments use covert technology to attack people's minds. I also endured a number of psychic attacks over a 17-year period. Psychic attacks are suggestions that are planted into someone's subconscious mind while they're asleep, so when they wake up, they think it's their own idea. Watch the film Inception for reference. I almost died twice, been made homeless on a number of occasions, was separated from my children, my finances were blocked spiritually, and I was labelled as having mental health issues, all to prevent me from getting this information out and to stop me from fulfilling my calling of helping my people break free from mental slavery. I mean, who's going to listen to someone who's got mental health issues? Some of the most powerful women I know have been entrapped in the mental health system, and I'm now committed to helping them free themselves. I spent a month in a psychiatric ward in 2018 after the last psychic attack, and have seen for myself that the mental health system has nothing to do with healing the mind. It's all to do with turning people into service users. Fortunately for me, all the attacks on my mind, spirit and body only served to help me develop a warrior spirit. Even while I was healing, I was still under attack. But I just said, bring it on. The more you attack me, the stronger I'll get. There's a film out right now called The Woman King about an elite all-women army which portrays these strong black women characters. The film is based on the West African Dahomey tribe. In real life, the Dahomey were all wives of the king under a patriarchal system. They were trained from a young age a form of brainwashing which involved psychological trauma. They were taught to kill and steal other Africans to be sold as slaves to Europeans. In 2016, I went deep into the rabbit hole with my Google research and discovered a form of mind control called MK Ultra. This is where they traumatize little children to the point where their mind splits. Each compartment of the fragmented mind is then reprogrammed. One alter personality could be an assassin, another could be a sex kitten, one could be a government spy, and so on. In the film Sankofa, captured African men were forced to whip their women as punishment. If they didn't do it, they would be whipped mercilessly. Today, many black men are carrying that trauma in their DNA. My ex gave me a psychological whipping. If it wasn't for psychedelic plant medicines, I don't know where I would be today. They didn't only heal my mind, they made it better than it was before. The spiritual and psychic attacks forced me to learn how to protect my mind and to call on my ancestors for spiritual protection. The other day I visited my mate Errol and his girlfriend. Errol helped me edit the first edition of my novel and did a bloody good job of it too. As soon as I walked through the door, their dog started barking and growling at me. I wasn't scared of the dog, it was scared of me. It kept looking to my right and left up above me and to my sides. They said they'd never seen the dog behave like that. I told them it could see my spirit guardians. Errol asked me to tone it down a bit, but I said, no way, do you know what I went through to get this protection? In 2020, my sister, Lady Leo, as she preferred to be called, joined our ancestors. She was the only other person in my family who was committed to doing the work of helping our community to heal. When she passed over to the other side and could see what I was trying to do, she promised to have my back and that I would never go through that again. I now have a spiritual army to protect me, and for the first time, I'm able to share my message without feeling the attacks. I don't feel sorry for anyone who tries to attack me now. As black women, we must remember how to protect ourselves by calling on our ancestors. Many of us are suffering because we've neglected to honour our ancestors. I now understand the true meaning of the saying, guidance and protection. Later in this series, I'll explain why it's important to honour our ancestors. But in the next vlog, we will explore how ancestral trauma has affected our relationships, including men and women and the mother and child bond, and what we can do to heal. This vlog is somewhat different to the original blog post that I wrote last year, so I'll put the link to it in the description. Join me for the next vlog in this series, Ancestral Trauma and Our Relationships.
We gotta heal ourselves. We gotta heal ourselves. We gotta heal ourselves. We gotta heal ourselves. Yeah, we gotta stay together. We belong together.